This is Mike from jpeg2RAW, and this is jpeg2RAW Quick Tips. Well, the beta version for Lightroom 5 is out, and I've been playing with it. And one of the first things I want to go over is the new clone option. Later, we'll go over what this means, smart preview. That's very interesting. But here we have a photo of my son and his crazy hair from the swim season. He's a high school swimmer. And we're going to clone out a couple of things. There's a pimple right here, and we're going to clone out this. These are not particularly challenging clones, but that's not what we're trying to show here. Before we show you how you do it in Lightroom 5, let's go over to Lightroom 4. In Lightroom 4, you really were limited. Let's go to the clone, and we'll do a healing. And you're limited to a circle. So not necessarily a bad thing. We want to clone out the pimple here. We come up to the pimple, we make a small brush, we clone it out, and bam, we're done. A simple cloning like this you can do in Lightroom. If you did too many of them, it would get slow. And cloning is one of the main reasons why I would leave Lightroom and go over to Photoshop, because Photoshop is just so much better at cloning out things than Lightroom. Now, to clone this out down here with Lightroom, really, I wouldn't even waste my time with it. It would be so difficult. And there's other ways to get rid of it. I know that, but it would be so difficult that it's not even worth wasting your time in Lightroom 4. Lightroom 5, however, gives you a lot more options. So let's go back over to Lightroom 5. I am running Lightroom 5 in a virtual environment, so it may be a little bit slower than normal. So don't the performance that you see here, it doesn't indicate the Lightroom performance. I'm not seeing a great improvement in performance, but in this example, it may be actually a little worse. So we're going to zoom in. We're going to go back to this pimple. We're going to do the clone here. And in this case, pretty much the same thing. We're going to clone that pimple out. It does an okay job. Whoops, I had the opacity down to 57. It does an okay job of cloning that out. Not particularly hard. But now let's go over to this here, and let's clone that out. So I'm going to make a little bit bigger brush. And look at that. I can drag and cover it up. Just like I can in Photoshop, I can now do it in Lightroom. You used to not be able to do that in Lightroom. You had to go to Photoshop to do something like that. But here you can do it. You can see where it's choosing. It sometimes chooses some very odd locations for where it's getting the information to do the clone, the heal here. Not the clone, the heal. So you may have to play with it, move it around. But in this case, it actually does a decent job of getting rid of it. I'm done with the clone, and bam, there it is. I was able to clone that out, clone out the pimple, which you could have already done. Clone those two things out while staying in Lightroom. Lightroom 5 beta so far is looking very promising.